Greetings, everyone. Welcome. Today, I am Monique, the Moon Mama, and I have with me Miss Clara Mosley, Dr. Clara Mosley, Ma Mosley, the goddess of all goddesses. I love her. She's my teacher, so I'm so grateful to be in company with you today. Welcome, Miss Clara. How you doing?
I'm great. It's so funny because this weekend, I was having a conversation with someone at a little restaurant where I was, and out of a conversation, at some point, she told me her name. Said, "What is your name?" And I said, "Hmm. Well, I'm called by many names. You know." I said, uh, "Some call me Mother. Some call me Mom Mosley. Some call me Dr. Clara. Some call me Reverend Clara. And you're listening. What are you calling me?" She said, "My most." I said, "That's it. That's my name for you. That's my name for you."
Yes,
You know,
absolutely. Mhm.
yeah, because the name is just how you're called. It's not who you are.
Yes. Oh, that brings us to our beautiful beginning. Hmm. So a name is who you're called and not who you are.
Exactly.
I think that's the incredible place for us to start this conversation today. We're going to be talking about identity.
Oh, okay.
Identity. What is your true identity? And the reason I would love for us to talk about
Actually, who
this,
are you? Who are you as your identity?
who are you as your identity? Yes.
Mhm.
And my reason for wanting to have this conversation, first and foremost, as you know, and many people who are a part of this community that I create, is about astrology. And astrology has really helped me put another language to how I move through the world. It's given me another conversation about my own identity or the identity of everything. And so um, as as we evolve as human beings, there is a constant opportunity for us to name ourselves,
Mhm.
to rename ourselves. And so I wanted to invite you to talk about identity and how we identify ourselves and how do we also re-identify ourselves, like not becoming too attached to things. So I just want to know your thoughts on that. Like, how do you?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. So it's like basically uh, at birth and sometimes before, but we are assigned a name. If you hear that, oh, I was assigned a name. But the name you're assigned doesn't give you yourself. It gives you how you how you're known by that name. It gives you your reputation. It gives you um, cause an image to mind if someone says, "Oh, Monique," oh, yeah, I know her. She's this girl. She like that.
Mhm.
So, but perhaps the identity. So we grow into an identity by that name. You grow into an identity, but you also growing out of what you are as you grow into a limited sense of self.
Mhm.
So, what if you were to expand what you are, distinct from who you came to be and how you came to be known? How you came to be known is what you've been told about yourself, what you heard about yourself, what others have said, your education, your all experiences. That's all of that. You came to be those things. But what is it that came to be the who that you are?
Mm. Mhm. So
That's
what
a
I hear you saying is, what were you before you came to be?
who identity sense
Yes.
of self. Yeah.
Mhm.
So what if, for example, um, you identify as a universal cosmic alphabet at a particular vibrational frequency, a particular, you're tuned, you are a tone, you are a tone to a particular universal cosmic way in a localized and condensed down state of visibility. Now you haven't identified at that. You have disinformation sense of identity. So the disinformation sense of identity is like, well, here's how I'm known, and here's what I've done, and here's what I have, here's who I am. All that self-created. So culture. It's academics. It's socialized identity. But what before? What before everything? Do you identify as I pre-exist everything that I can see, that I hear? I'm more than what I believe. I'm greater than the who I came to know as myself and the others know. And as a matter of fact, you find most of the others don't really know what's behind the scene of the who. They know the who up front, the presentation who, but behind the scenes, they don't know. Or what's behind the scene of every scene? What is this DNA factor? What is that? The ethereal, the astral, the intangible elements. Like when my grandson was in neonatal care, they said, we're going to remix his blood gases. To sustain the identity of a human being, to sustain the identity. They had to remix his blood gases to sustain the physical identity. And yet we have such a physical identity sense of self. We're very symbol oriented. You go, oh, that's me. I'll go, oh, that dress is me. That's me. No, it's not. Nothing in form is you.
Not even your physical body, really.
No.
Yes, come on, man.
Especially not that. Especially not that. That is a transgenerational composition. It's a transgenerational composition along those particular lines. So your physical body is an evolution of all that came before you along those particular vibrational frequencies, by the way that you chose to tune into before you arrived here. You chose to come through that particular lineage.
Yes.
So it was created. And while you're in the womb, that's the time that it takes to build this thing.
Yes.
So to condense down to a physicality for an identity for the purpose of this dimension only. That's how you release the physical when you leave this dimension. So the physical serves a purpose for what you are that you've identified as that's me. No, that's not you. That's an image, and that's a reflective image of many vibrational frequencies of many others.
Yes.
And so you get into the healing thing. The recovery, the restoration of your what we call health and healing. Is you can tap in to your bones, for example. You can tap into your cells, for example, and they hold so much information, like the chakras. They hold so much information, but it's all energy, it's all frequency, it's all vibration, it's all non-physical. But because we're so symbol oriented, you've identified it as being physical alone. No, the sum total of the physicality of you is equivalent to one cell of your physicality. And how about, and there are billions of cells to make up these bodies, and the sum total is equivalent to one cell.
Ooh. When you say that, the thing that brings up for me is how just through thinking and misinformation, like misnaming myself, like overly identifying is what I want to say, because I overly identify with this body, these things, it narrows the expression of that essence that is within me.
Yes, equivalent to a horse having blinders on.
Yes. Come on. Yeah.
It really is. It's like and you have to rethink what it is to think, what you call in thinking. Because most of what you call in thinking, you're not thinking. You know, it is you're responding to what was a program, what was already thought, what you have learned, what you have heard, what you felt, what you believe. That's not thinking. You're responding. So you're in a spiral. And you're calling it thinking. It's not.
Yes. Oh, that is, I mean, that's a very significant thing. And so how do you get out of that very narrow way of what you call responding or reacting thinking to what you've been given from external guidance to reorienting yourself to an internal focus? How does one do that?
Yeah. So how is a word that must be thrown away.
Okay.
It takes you deeper in.
Yes. Okay. Got it. I hear you.
Yeah. And so it goes back though to an old story of Nicodemus who saw a man who attained the God state of being, which means the all-knowing state, you know, and where the state where you're connected to the allness of all that is state. And so he saw this, and so being highly educated and extremely wealthy, go, well, how did I miss that? Because he doesn't nearly have going on what I have going on, yet I don't have that going on, and I don't know how do I get that? How do I have that? How do I participate? How I that the how. Oh, well, it says, well, go and do these things. See, doing gets you no place except for effort and struggle and stress. and you run into those insecurities you internalize. So it says, what? Now, here's how. How is to let go of how and to know that you're already the allness. So it's like it's a matter of practicing, allowing, practicing, letting go, practicing, releasing it all. All what you had identified as a self that makes you this grand food that's given us the lives we have in the world we have. You can see that's not the pathway. Now how do I fix this? Well, we'll write this law well, and then you find like you get no place. It's the history just repeating itself, like what's happening in our world today, all the things they're doing now. But you know, abortion rights, not abortion rights. It's about the power of authority. You know, and that's what's always been about. That it's about inequities. It's always been about that. About less than, more than. It's always been about. So it's always about what is not. It's always been about what is not.
Yes.
And that feels very scary because who you are as an identity is threatened. Who you are as your identity can be threatened, but what you are
can never be threatened.
It's a universal cosmic vibrational frequency. What if you tap into that? Oh, what I am is a universal cosmic vibrational frequency. Wow. Where is that? Every flipping where. But you have identified as a who have a localized only state. And that's
the horses with the blinders on.
Yeah. And that's the disinformation. You haven't realized the power of wakefulness, the power of all-knowing, because you've been taught and trained to, I must know something. So then I can. That's the disinformation.
Yes.
If I know something, then I can apply it, I can use it, I can get there. Well, here is everywhere already. There's no there to travel to. Once you arrive, that too will be here. So you will never find what you're looking for there, over there, out there. It's all within what you are, not your body wrap.
Yes.
This serves what you are. It is the hands and feet and eyes and ears, okay? And the brain is an apparatus. It is not intelligence. It's an apparatus that transmits signals, frequencies, and vibrations. You know, like the drums or a fine instrument. You hear great music, and moves the soul, like, wow, vibration. So we because music is said to be, in my listening, the melody of the soul. Music is, you know, is at the level of soul. You watch music, they're on a whole other dimension. You know, good music, you find yourself just because there's something going on that's non-physical. That's what you are. Non-physical in a physical expression. That. So when you identify as a non-physical, as the intangible, the ego has to give away to its esteem as the self of yourself. That's the disinformation.
Is that like, you know, that story in the Bible where they said, Christ said to the man, you know, let go of all your riches so you can pass through the eye of a needle, like a.
Yeah, and it really was translated correctly as a rope of a needle. The rope can pass through, because they thought it is a camel. No, the correct translation was rope. Now imagine a rope. You know how many, you know, you never get a rope through the needle.
Yes.
You know, and like, oh yeah, and so because your riches are your own, your all of that. Your egotistical self, and sometimes your egotistical self is also a way of covering over what it is to be terrified. Yes. To be afraid. So it's like a bully. A bully bullies to protect its vulnerability, its fearfulness. You know, and so if you were to identify like what comes up for me when I hear music that's so beautiful, it's so such a vibrational frequency. It's like, and yet when you study music, you know, I don't know much about music, my husband does. There's all these notes and keys, A, B, C, E, D, all those different things. But what if what you are is equivalent to that? And as you tap into what you are, you shift the frequency of consciousness. Yes. Shift the frequency of what's occurring. Yes. What if that? What if that?
That's really powerful, because in astrology, Taurus rules, the archetype of Taurus is the musician. And Taurus rules the senses. It rules taste, touch, feeling, you know, hearing, sight. And that is how we relate to this reality. That is the music that is the language of this reality.
Exactly.
So I hear what you're saying is, it's almost like become more identified with what you feel, what you sense, that is truer to who you are than the external things that you name as who you are.
Exactly. And as you get that piece down, that's a layer. What is it? What then you prepare yourself with a foundation to begin to sense into what you are vibrationally. Sense into the frequency. You sense into, because sensory is the feedback of the physical. But sensing is a different conversation. I now I'm giving up. I'm letting everything go. No, I'm sensing. I'm sensing. What's there vibrationally? What's there as a frequency? What's there as like, oh, something pops. You catch something. When you sense into something, distinct from being so sensory oriented. So sensory orientation is strictly physical. Yes. But sensing into is different than thinking into. It's different than a base reference of knowing and understanding. Because really, the real of what you are is beyond human intellect to understand.
It's really powerful because astrologically, the Taurus energy, what we're talking about sensing, is an infantile energy.
Yeah.
It's an energy that doesn't have language.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all, and if for those of us who have spent time with babies, they're powerful. They don't use any words. They are not communicating, but they are communicating, and we are understanding everything because they are using their senses.
That's what Goo Goo Gaga is all about.
Is that why they named it Google?
Yeah, babies go Goo Goo Gaga, Goo Goo.
Yeah.
So they're working to unscramble this language, this planetary language.
Yeah.
They're looking to unscramble that planetary language. But the babies coming in now, they're even more advanced than our babies, and then we were. I was looking today with my friend, her 8-year-old baby, 8-month-old baby. Mm-hmm. He's pushing stuff. He's walking, pushing the little thing on wheels. It's like that baby was 8 months old. Wow. And those eyes, when babies are very present to you, pay attention. Mm-hmm. That is, you see a baby, but you see beyond that form. You see something, you see being seen.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And this has nothing to do with eyesight. You see being seen. Baby is not looking. The baby is seeing. Mm-hmm. They have not yet fallen completely asleep.
Yes.
They don't have all the disinformation in between them and everything. Mm-hmm. And so I remember once I had 2 babies here, and they were just having the best time. But Z was a baby, and the best time, and they were just Goo Goo Gaga and having a good time. We said, "What are you guys talking about?" You know what they did? I was like, "You were crazy." Looked up at us, and then turned back and went right on.
Yes.
It wasn't for us. Mm-hmm. And once I called my child, very young, maybe not even 2, looking in the mirror downstairs, and I said, I want you to know, I know not only are you my child, you are my teacher. You know what he did? Went back to baby stuff.
Yes.
Pay attention to children. He said, when you are born, the soul, the spirit is newly born. There is something universal and cosmic that is born into an infant state of being, into an infant state. And we call that a human. But by the way, we basically place so much emphasis on the Bible. But the word human is not a biblical term. It's not in the Bible any place. But we place so much on human being. But what you are is being. Yes. And how do you qualify that? How do you qualify being? How do you measure being? It's.
Well, there's something you said a moment ago that I really want to talk more about. It's like you said, babies haven't forgotten yet. And that brings us back to this sort of identity thing. So babies haven't forgotten who they are.
Exactly.
And they really don't know their name. They're taught that. They don't know the rules of functioning here. They're taught that.
Exactly.
But they know who they are. They've not forgotten. So can you?
They know they're more than who you think. They know they're more than your perception of who. That's what they know. They know they're not. That's why they call the terrible twos, because they're insistent on their power, and we're trying to socialize them into a culture. It's a culture within the cultures within the cultures, and they basically are not having that.
Yes.
Yes. And that's why so many of us end up and to really work hard to find ourselves, sometimes through therapy, through meditation, through all the ways, sometimes through different ways. People find different ways to deal with, to cope with being in this dimension. So you find in this dimension, the way we are socialized, we have to find ways to cope with being here, with this disinformation of what we are.
Yes.
Because we know beyond that. But then when you go around like, who do you think you are? I just know that I am.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? What do you know?
Yes.
And that sounds a little crazy. But I walked into a class I was teaching. They said, "Well, who are you?" I go, "Huh, that's an interesting, that a question or an inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how to be with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what did you were asking about me?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so people don't even know how to ask. I was doing a workshop training for a small company, and you go, "Well, I used to wear my hair real stiff and all that." But I go,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, how do you get your hair like that?" That's not a question. That's a non-question.
Mm-hmm.
It's a non-question. It's relevant to nothing
Mm-hmm.
because that's a fact.
Yes.
So, but we have learned to be either who has so many superficial layers, so many
Yeah.
layers, and so much going on beneath those layers that
Mm-hmm.
we have been tuned out. You know how you hear music until one the notes are all crazy. They go,
Yeah.
oh God, it's like screeching. Well, that's what's happened
Mm-hmm.
at the
Mm-hmm.
level.
Okay, thank you for that. So we have about 9 minutes left, and I heard you say there is no how to let go of how.
Yeah, because you look
That,
at the formula.
yes.
Mhm.
And my intention is to apply this to the awakening that we're having on, because many people are having really interesting awakenings because our realities are shifting. It feels like a natural evolution, like technology changes everything. Like we have access to all sorts of things that we didn't know,
Right.
that weren't a part of our daily realities and now how do we come back into authority?
Okay, so
Like, I heard you say there is no how, so I'm sorry I said how.
let go of the how, because it'll keep you like the dog chasing his tail. So
Okay.
let go of the how and go,
Mm-hmm.
what is called for?
Mm-hmm.
What is called for from what we are?
Mm-hmm.
What is called for from within what I am?
Mm-hmm.
What is called for beyond where I am?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what must I rethink?
Mm-hmm.
What must I reconsider?
Mm-hmm.
What must I allow to be?
Mm-hmm.
When this makes me feel a certain way that would stop me, let me allow that feeling and not intervene, not interfere. Just notice it.
Mm-hmm.
To work in awareness, work in awareness. So much to pay attention to what's in your awareness and do nothing with it.
Mm.
Because we're trained to want to do something about something, and it's given us what we have.
Mm-hmm.
We have it's not it.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, in that case, let's see. What if I notice these feelings in my stomach, in my head, in my heart, and I just notice it without naming it, without identifying it as something, without ascribing the value to it. I'm just going to notice it.
Mm-hmm.
You will find that at some point, it's less and less and less and less because you have thought it was something.
Yes.
And that's the disinformation because it's nothing. And you
Mm.
have to be something. And that's the power of your awareness, your consciousness, That's the power of what you are.
Wow.
That's the power of what you are.
I just heard you speak quantum physics.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Bring your attention to it without making it anything. Bring the light to it and watch the light shift it into light.
Exactly. Well said. And if you weren't aware of that, you wouldn't bother to think positive. You wouldn't bother for affirmations. You wouldn't bother to study anything beyond what you've already learned. You wouldn't bother to. Let me just say a blessing. You wouldn't bother. So you know that what you are is powerful. In awareness, not in doing and not in knowing, but in allowing. And in the allowing, without naming it. Because when the minute you name it,
you collapse the reality around it, and it has to be that.
You call it forward.
That's right.
You call it into being, you call it into, and you wonder what happened. You call it into expression, for example. That's how powerful you. But you have forgotten the power of what you are because you've been too identity oriented.
Yes. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I am so blessed that we are together, and I know that this is going to be a very significant message.
Yes.
And I give thanks. I give thanks to the ancestors. I give thanks to the non-local invisible beings that support us in this journey
Yes.
of in a constant state of becoming.
Yes.
And I look forward to the next time when we are together.
As do I. Thank you so much. And I know that we are the evolution of our ancestors. We are the evolution of our ancestors newly awakening.
Yes.
And we are
Ashe.
celebrated.
Ashe. And so it is.
So
Thank
it
you,
is.
Mom Mosley.
Come on, Mama.